I have two cash flowing rental properties and they both have debt below 4% interest rate. And guess what? I'm considering selling both of them. Now, if you just gasp at what I said, I really want to emphasize that cash flow and low interest rate debt are not the only factors when you have to consider whether you should keep a property or sell it. By the end of this video, you may understand why I'm considering selling it. I'm gonna walk you through my thought process, my goals, and the current market opportunities. So let me know in the comments below what you would do if you're in my shoes. Welcome back to another Should I Keep My Property, Refinance It, or Sell It? My name is Chris Lopez, and I specialize in helping real estate investors optimize their portfolio and rebalance it to make smart investments in today's high interest rate environment. So let me jump into the two condo rentals that I own I'm considering selling. So I bought both these condos in 2020, and they're actually in the same condo complex. I bought one for $195,000, the other for about $207,000. And I put 25% down on each. So all in, I was got $107,000 to buy both of these condos. Now, they cash flowed from day one, which was phenomenal. Coming to present day in 2024, these condos are worth about $275,000 a piece, and they rent for about $1,900 a month. Now, I am less concerned about cash flow when I look at my current performance and more focused on return on equity. If I could focus on one number to analyze my current rental performance, it'd be return on equity. And when I see a 9% return on equity, I am not happy because a 9% return is what I expect from my stock and bond investments, not from my rental properties. So when I see return on equity drop below double digits, that's an indicator to me that I should look at, hey, I need to do something with these rental properties, either make a move or potentially sell. So looking at the numbers is only half the battle. The other aspect we look at is, what are the investors' goals? I'm in my early 40s and I have 3 young girls and a young family. I want to enjoy every minute I can with my family right now and make sure my money is working hard for me in my rental properties. Taking a step back and looking at my entire portfolio of rentals and stocks and everything else I own, I am still in growth mode, meaning I need more assets to achieve my retirement goals for a higher net worth and future cash flow. So when an investor is in growth mode, it's really important to understand the internal rate of return. Because for those who are in growth mode, we're at a very unique time in the marketplace with what happened the last couple of years after COVID. A property's IRR is an estimate of the value it generates during the time frame of while you own it. So it really takes into account the time value of money. It looks at the annual cash flows plus what you could sell the property for at the end of the time frame. So simply put, if you're in growth mode, you want a higher IRR because that means you're gonna have more cash flow and more assets in the future. Now, it's a lot easier to actually look at the graph to understand the performance of my condos in relation to internal rate of return. So you can see in 2021, I had about a 45% internal rate of return, then went to about a 55% for 2022, and then started going down in 23 and 24. So if I sold today, I'd be right around a 25% internal rate of return. But I want to rewind and go back to 21 and 22. Why do we see such a big spike here? Is it because I'm a brilliant investor? Well, I'd like to take credit for it, but it's not. It's because we had the gift of low interest rates for a couple of years. And we all know what happened in 20, 21, 22. Prices just skyrocketed and rents also skyrocketed. So when you look at the time value of money, it really front loaded the return. So anyone that owned rental properties during that time frame, you need to come back and understand what the IRR on your property is, because you had so much return front load for this couple of years. You want to make sure you're maximizing it, especially if you're in growth mode. All right, so as we go into these 4 scenarios, I want you to keep IRR and return on equity in the back of your mind. Now, before we dive into more numbers on here, I need to tell you about the tool that I'm using to analyze it. This video is sponsored by Property Llama software. Now, this is software I help co-create. Why? Because I needed a better way, a better tool to go out there and analyze rental properties. So beyond getting current numbers of performance, the powerhouse is we can run scenarios of what if I did a cash out refi? What if I did a 1031 exchange? And the software can model it for you and give you side-by-side comparisons to help you understand, hey, if I did this, here's how the numbers look today, and we can forecast it out for years to come. So go to propertyllama.com/ BP to go create your free account so you can upload your rental properties, get a free analysis, and see what potential you have in your portfolio. So the very first scenario to look at is always saying, hey, what could I do with the current properties? How can I improve the current performance? Because anytime you sell real estate, it costs transaction fees and commissions. So we want to make sure that we're making the right move. Now, I'm looking at both properties here in this view, and you see they're cash flowing about $5,600 a year. Well, I've had the same tenants to these properties for about the last 2 or 3 years. So I'm about 10% below market rent. Why? Well, because they've been great tenants. And if I raised it completely to market rent, I would have to get new tenants, which has vacancy and a few $1,000s in turnover cost. So I've been very happy with being a little bit below market rent while keeping the same great tenants in place. But now that I'm evaluating it, I have to look at what happens if I increase my rents. So I could increase each condo by about $250 a month in rent or $500 across both of them. Now, what does that do to the numbers? So you can see on the left here, my current as is, my return equity is about 9.5%. And if I increased the rent, it would jump to about 12%. So I'm getting back into double digits, but I'm still below my 15% target. Now, cash flow will increase from about $5,600 a year to almost $12,000 a year. So that's great for cash flow, but not great for growth. Now, here is the really fascinating thing when it comes to raising rents, because you see that and you're like, wow, that's amazing. But guess what? It has no impact on the internal rate of return. So here's the same graph, but now I'm looking forward for 5 years with that $500 a month increase in rents. So you can see my IRR still goes down. Now, I first looked at this was shocking to me years ago. So I really had to jump in the numbers. Again, go back to the time value of money. I got all this appreciation the first 2 years. I mean, I got $100,000 appreciation in almost each condo. So a couple $100 5 years later is not going to outweigh the $100,000 in appreciation those first couple of years. So that's scenario one. Raising rents is not a bad move, but it's also not a great move. So the second scenario we can look at is I can raise my rents and then do a cash out refinance to go out there and buy another rental property. Well, here's the problem. We all know interest rates jumped up, and any cash out refinance and new properties will all be in the 7% plus range. So what happens here is my return equity would increase to about 14.4%, almost to my 15% goal. So this is looking really promising. Now here's a problem. My cash flow is going to go to negative from $12,000 a year to about negative $1,000 a year. So while growth is more important than cash flow, I don't want to have negative cash flow where I'm growing. I think it's a risky move to subsidize rental properties for future growth. So generally speaking, cash out refis just don't make sense in almost every scenario in today's market. All right, so let's move on to scenario 3, which is sell my properties and utilize a 1031 exchange so I can buy a new property but defer my capital gains. So if I sold both properties after commissions and closing costs, I'd have about $120,000 and $113,000 from both properties. And I keep $10,000 in each bank account for just my rainy day reserve fund. So altogether, I'd have about $250,000 to go reinvest. Now, anytime you sell a property, you want to look at potential tax consequences. So always go out there and talk to your CPA. So my CPA estimated that I'd be in about a 22% tax bracket and owe about $40,000 in taxes. Yikes. Well, the great thing about 1031 exchanges, I would not pay taxes today. I would pay those in the future. So that means I keep more money working for me today. So I'm going to run through 2 1031 scenarios on different investments that I see in the current marketplace. The first one I'm going to look at is selling these condos and then 1031ing into a fourplex in Colorado Springs. I have done this in the past and I love this move. Now, for me personally, this is what I looked at because I go out there and buy a turnkey fourplex. So I'd be about a $750,000 fourplex at a 33% down payment with an interest rate in the 7% range. So let's compare the 2 condos with the rent increase with the new turnkey fourplex in Colorado Springs. So return equity would go from about 11.9% to about 11.4%. We're talking a half a percentage point there. That is a rounding area, or a lot of times a water heater replacement in one of the years. So that is a lateral move and does not align with my growth goals. Now, cash flow. My cash flow would actually decrease from about $12,000 to about $3,000. So even though I'm buying a bigger asset with more units, my cash flow is dropping. Why? Well, because I'm buying these in a 7% interest rate. So while this aligns with me being hands-off, it doesn't align with a great investment for me. Now, the other investment to consider is how can I go out there and maximize growth and cash flow? Well, in Colorado and many markets around the country, I see the best cash flowing assets being in the room by room rental market. That's where you go out there and buy a 5, 6, 7 bedroom house and then go rent every single bedroom individually. So you get great cash flow numbers and great growth numbers. The problem is you have to go out there and self-manage the property. But look at the numbers first. If I take the condos and buy the room by rooms, my return equity almost doubles from 11.9 to 21.5%. Great. Growth goes up. And also my cash flow almost doubles from about $12,000 to almost $24,000. So growth is up and cash flow is up. But guess what? I have no property manager for these room by room rentals. So I am self-managing these properties. So while this makes sense in the current market conditions, it doesn't make sense where I'm at in my season of life. If I wasn't 42-year-old Chris Lopez, but I was 22-year-old Chris Lopez, this is the move I would make. So if you're in the phase of your investing career, we can go out there and put in sweat equity. I would highly consider going out there and looking at room by room rentals and potentially making this trade up. So let's go into our fourth and final scenario. And this is where I'm going to sell my properties and then go invest passively. So this works really well for me as an investor, since my goal is I want to limit my time, but make my money work harder for me. Now, in terms of market conditions, there are some amazing opportunities right now in the passive world. When interest rates jumped up, it didn't create much pain or opportunity in the residential world, but it's creating a lot of pain and opportunity in the commercial world of these bigger assets. Why? They don't have 30-year fixed interest rates. So essentially what we're seeing is a 2008 style-like crash in bigger assets. And so investing passively is a way to go out there and take advantage of these. So in my mind, I am selling high on my residential rental properties and I'm buying low in the commercial rental property market. So while passive has a lot of pros, there is one big con. I cannot do a 1031 exchange into a passive investment. So that means I will be paying taxes when I sell the properties. There's a term out there called the lazy 1031 exchange. Now, this is not a real 1031 exchange, but it's where you go out there and sell your rental properties and then buy a new rental, either actively or passively within the same year, and then use the depreciation of that new investment to help offset your taxes. Now, we estimate I have about $40,000 in taxes due. Well, if I do a lazy 1031 exchange, my CP estimates I'll save about $10,000 to $15,000 in taxes. So rather than paying about $40,000, I'll pay about $25,000 to $30,000 in taxes. So that leaves me about $220,000 to invest. So let me show you where I would invest $220,000 passively. I would put $100,000 into a multifamily value add fund. I really like the macro conditions. There's some great opportunities out there to buy, and we are still in a housing shortage. Now, secondly, this is where the depreciation is coming into play for my lazy 1031 exchange. And this is what's going to save me $10,000 to $15,000 this year in taxes. You might be saying, Chris, why aren't you going to invest all $220,000 into a multifamily value add fund? Well, I got a simple answer, because I want diversification. So $100,000 there. Then I'm going to invest $70,000 into a hard money fund. And I'm doing this to actually create some cash flow for my investments. So I can get about 12% from a hard money lender I know. So I loan him money, and then he's the one going out there and lending all the money to fix and flippers and other investors who need short-term loans. So I love this play for cash flow. The last investment I'm considering is about $50,000 into a development play. So this developer is building about 50 single-family homes in the Denver metro area. And I like this play because land values have dropped a lot as interest rates went up, and we have a huge housing shortage like most markets around here. And he's not building, $3 million luxury homes. No, he's building homes right around the median price point for houses. So that means there's a big buyer market. So I like this because it meets my goal of high growth and I stay hands off. So here's a really exciting thing about this potential passive portfolio is I'll have more cash flow every single year and higher growth. So let's compare the potential passive portfolio with keeping in condos with the increased rents. So let's bring it back to the internal rate of return since I mentioned that. Well, I expect to have about a 22% IRR from my passive portfolio. Now, if I keep the condos with a rent bump, I'll have about a 17% IRR. Now, that is a 5% difference in IRR, which doesn't sound like a whole lot. When we look at the numbers, it really is. So it meets my goal of a higher growth. Plus, I'm actually getting more cash flow per year. So for example, in 2025, I expect to have about $20,000 a year in cash flow, where my condos would have about $11,000 a year in cash flow. That's a big difference. So I'm getting more growth and more cash flow. So looking at these 4 scenarios, I am really leaning towards scenario 4 of selling and investing passively. Why? 1, I'm taking advantage of some of the better investment opportunities in the current market cycle. Secondly, it fits my current season of life of being more of a hands-off investor and also stays in line with my portfolio goals of having more growth. Now, that's for me currently right now where I'm at my portfolio. I'm curious about what you would do based on where your portfolio is at, based on where you are in season life. What would you do? It's really important to emphasize that there's no right answer. There's so many variables in here that you have to figure out what makes sense for you as the investor. What investment opportunities do you have? What season of life are you in? And where's your portfolio at? Let me know in the comments below because I love reading them and I love going in there and having some friendly debates. So YouTube, what would you do with my condos?